Right. It really feels like Trump stumbled into a topic where he's getting a lot of pushback from other Republicans, whether it's the New York Post having a cover today saying that Trump is wrong, whether it's Ben Shapiro calling Trump out for lying, or I have a compilation of congressional Republicans being asked what they think about Trump's comments. They all unequivocally say that Trump is wrong. There's also a new Trump interview with Brian Kilmeade that I want to play right now, where, it's incredibly disgusting what Trump says. Not only does he sound super sick, let me know if you think he sounds sick in this interview, but he's siding with Putin even further. He's doubling down, and then I want to cover some of the Republican reactions to this, and I want to talk about Trump's presser that he just did. So drop a like, subscribe for in-depth political coverage, and let's jump in with Trump's interview from an hour ago.
He's been negotiating for 3 years. And just so you know, when you say Russia was the attacker, yes, Russia was attacked. Russia attacked, but there was no reason for them to attack. You could have talked him out. There was no reason that he should have attacked. That whole thing was going on for years. There was no reason he was going in. It should have never happened. That war should have never happened. And I'm telling you.
So don't mistake that for a condemnation of Putin. He's not saying that Putin should have never invaded. He's saying that if he were the president, there's no reason it should have happened. If he were the president, he would have prevented it. That's his point. Don't think that he's condemning Putin.
The way they talked, I said, these guys are going to go into a war. Every time I say, it's not Russia's fault, I always get slammed by the fake news. But I'm telling you, Biden said the wrong things. Zelensky said the wrong things. They got attacked by somebody that's much bigger and much stronger, which is a bad thing to do. And you don't do that. But Russia could have been talked out of that so easily. That should never have been a war. And all those dead people shouldn't be dead, and all those cities shouldn't be demolished, right?
Okay, so this dude has an incredibly infantile view on politics, on geopolitics, on foreign relations. But let me just break down a few things that he said. Number one, he uses very infantile words as well. He says a stronger country shouldn't hurt a less strong country. It's just he has no understanding of what he's talking about. But when it comes to Zelensky saying the wrong thing, the reason why Zelensky wanted to join NATO in the first place, wants to move westward in the first place, wants to build stronger relationships with the United States, with Europe, is because of Putin's bullying. So Trump has it directly backwards. Trump thinks that Putin is only being aggressive because Zelensky wants to be a part of the West, but no, Zelensky wants to be friends with us, with all of Europe, because Putin is a threat that looms over Ukraine and looms over all of Europe. Putin's aggression has been noted in 2008 when he invaded Georgia, in 2014 when he invaded Crimea, which in and of itself debunks what Trump is saying, because if I can demonstrate to you that Putin has already invaded multiple countries, he already invaded Ukraine, then how is this a war that was never going to happen, or that Biden caused, if Putin had already began this war? It was basically a frozen conflict in Crimea, and then Putin relaunched the invasion. So let's finish up this, but let me just say, Trump's peace deal, his terrible quote-unquote peace deal, is all about allowing Putin to keep the land that he already has, which kicks the can down the road and allows Putin to relaunch the invasion in a few years.
Now, so when Zelensky said, he wasn't invited to a meeting, I mean, it wasn't a priority because he did such a bad job in negotiating so far. Number one, you shouldn't have had a war. And if you did, it should have been solved and settled immediately. It could have been.
Mr. President, I think you're 100% right. There's two.
I don't even know where to begin with debunking something so incredibly wrong and offensive. Like, you have to completely rewire someone's view of how the world works and who the good guys and the bad guys are. It's so simple. A sovereign country, a country that has existed since the Soviet Union dissolved, a country that was recognized by every single country across the globe as a sovereign state, including Russia, recognized Ukraine when they signed the Budapest Memorandum. They had security guarantees from the West. They get invaded by Vladimir Putin, and Trump says that Zelensky stoked it, even though Putin had already invaded before, multiple times. It makes zero sense. And, I'm glad to see Republicans pushing back and at least holding the line. But I don't know if they deserve that much praise given the fact that they got us into the situation, given the fact that they're still going to vote in line with Trump. And yeah, I want to show you this video and read this article that say how GOP hawks bristle at Trump's anti-Ukraine tirade. Check this out.
Well, I like I said, the president speaks for himself.
I cannot agree that President Zelensky is to blame in any way.
Can you talk? Thank you, guys. President Trump has weighed in that you
invasion by Russia.
I absolutely would not say that Zelensky started the war. It is quite clear who started the war. It was absolutely Russia at Putin's directive. I don't think that there should be any confusion with that.
To the extent that the White House said that Ukraine started the war, I disagree. I think Vladimir Putin started the war. I also believe, through bitter experience, that Vladimir Putin is a gangster. He's a gangster with a black heart. He makes Jeffrey Dahmer look like Mother Teresa. He has Stalin's taste for blood. And as I've said in another context, I trust this guy like I trust gas stations sushi.
But make no mistake about it, that invasion was the responsibility of one human being on the face of this planet. It was Vladimir Putin in a calculation to go through Ukraine and not stop there, to go through Moldova, to go through the Balkans, to ultimately go to the Baltic states and send the signal to China that now is the time that they can take action in the South China Sea. That's what this is about, and that's what we as members have to communicate. Got to go.
You've seen.
I didn't hear that. I'll let other people use their words. It's not a word I would have used.
I mean, so there's still so spineless. There's a few thoughts I have. Number one, I think it's worth not only putting pressure on, but shining a light on the Republicans who are currently opposing Trump. I don't think we should blindly just hate them. I think we should try to use this as an opportunity to use them as proxies to apply pressure on Trump, or at least vote against him. It has happened in the past. About a year back, 22 Senate Republicans defied Trump and voted for aid to Ukraine. I'm telling you, there are Republicans who still appreciate Ukraine's sovereignty. The former president tried to kill the measure, but 22 Senate Republicans voted against Trump's wishes. There are also GOP lawmakers that are rapidly trying to distance themselves from Trump's condemnation of Ukraine, but still emphasize the president's goal to secure a peace deal, according to Politico. They're all playing this game where they're trying to walk the edge. They're trying to condemn Trump without actually condemning Trump, and they're using political language. We need to be pushing them to just fully condemn what Trump is saying, fully explain why Ukraine is an ally. This dude did a pretty good job by saying that if Putin does successfully take Ukraine with just absolute ease, he can then march through the rest of Europe and take country after country after country, or at least start a world war, because Putin has imperial ambitions. We need to explain to people that Zelensky's not the one who is invading countries. I don't know, there's so much Russian propaganda out there that it's an uphill battle. We're always fighting an uphill battle with the Russian disinformation, with Elon Musk owning X, especially with the president of the United States now citing disinformation about Ukraine, even about vaccines. Watch this clip from an hour ago.
As easy as you thought, just quit. Well, in the end, they all voted for him. He did pretty well. You got through. But, we have one stat that I quote, the autism stat, and you hear different numbers, but it's thousands. They say between 10 and 20,000. So if you go back 15 years ago, we had like nobody. It was 1 in 20,000. Now we have 1 in 34. Is that right? 34.
So Trump is talking about the autism rate going up over the past 50 years to 100 years, but it's causation correlation. There has been study after study after study about this. Every single study shows that, number one, vaccines are safe, but also the reason why autism rates have increased is because we've gotten better at detecting it. It is now a spectrum. We can identify the signs much easier. We have a broader range of categories we can fit people into. 100 years ago, we didn't even know really what autism was, that it was a spectrum, that certain people could have it to different degrees.
For some people, it's more social. For some, it's more obsessive. There are different ways it affects people in their day-to-day lives, and now we know that. So everything Trump is saying is wrong.
And that loops back to all of the Russian disinformation seeping into the mainstream with the help of Donald Trump, because you have his supporters. Look at this. A Trump supporter responded to this clip of Trump talking about the autism and vaccines and said, when Trump speaks, he is speaking based on privileged information, so I wonder what he knows. I mean, people trust the president. You can't just say bullshit like that. And I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe, comment a blue heart if you got this far. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.